All right, let's dive headfirst into the inverted cosmos. This is a universe where everything you think you know about morality gets flipped completely on its head. Forget divine love. We're talking about a grand cosmic theater built for suffering and vitality. Today, we're going to profile its flawed creator and the absolutely twisted rules that make this place tick.
So, let's start with a really unsettling idea. Just for a second, forget everything you've ever heard about a perfect, intentional creation. Instead, ask yourself this. What if our entire reality was just one colossal cosmic oops? And this really gets to the heart of it. You know, on one hand, you have the classic story, a universe spoken into existence by a divine word, a place that worships the purity of light. But on the other hand, you have the inverted cosmos. This place wasn't spoken into being, it was laughed into existence by a cosmic guffaw. And it doesn't worship the light. No, it worships the flame, consuming, chaotic, and alive.
So you have to be wondering, who is the architect of a reality this twisted? Well, it's time to meet the creator god of this flawed universe. His name is Sockless, but you can just call him the Fool.
And no, that's not an insult. It's his official title. It's not the Almighty or the All-Knowing. It's the Fool. And it's the perfect description for a creator who's clumsy, who doesn't know everything, and whose greatest act was, well, a complete and utter accident. His other title, The Blind Artisan, just paints an even more chilling picture, doesn't it? He's not some grand artist with a clear vision in his head. Imagine instead a craftsman just fumbling around in the dark, shaping a universe not from some divine plan, but from one profound, universe-birthing mistake.
So how does an error this massive even happen? Well, it's actually a pretty simple three-step story of cosmic narcissism. First, Sockless stared into the abyss. Then, in an act of just supreme vanity, he saw his own reflection and mistook it for the true Godhead. And finally, totally driven by this delusion, he just started creating. This wasn't divine will. This was a God falling in love with a mistaken image of himself.
But why? Why build this whole flawed universe in the first place? The answer is as simple as it is absolutely terrifying. He was bored. Seriously, Sockless found perfection dull. So he built what he calls his grand playground, for one reason and one reason only, to watch souls bleed in interesting patterns. It's a cosmic engine designed for what the old texts call agonizing joy. There's a line from their scripture, the Liturgy of the Air, that just perfectly captures the horror of his motivation. He did not create you to love you. He created you to see if your blood could paint a masterpiece on the dust. That just reframes our entire existence, doesn't it? It's not a gift of love. It's an act of, I guess, aesthetic cruelty. And this playground of his has a very specific, very twisted structure. First, you've got the Fool's Heaven, which is basically a gilded cage of static, mindless adoration. Then there's the living inferno, that's our world, the workshop where all the friction and struggle happens. And finally, there's the true void, the one and only thing Sockless is actually afraid of. Total, silent non-existence.
Okay, so we've met the creator and his obsession with avoiding boredom. Now, let's see how he actually governs this place. It's time to meet his enforcers, the 7 red judges. But here's the twist. They aren't here to punish sin. They're called the architects of vitality, and they were engineered to make sure life stays agonizingly interesting.
And this is their entire philosophy, boiled down to 4 words. In the inverted cosmos of Sockless, the 7 deadly sins aren't weaknesses you need to overcome. Nope. They are the foundational virtues. They are the pillars of a holy and, most importantly, a living existence. So how do they enforce this? Well, their law isn't a list of thou shalt nots. It's a series of commands. Thou must. Their whole purpose is to mandate sin, to make it a sacred duty. Because all that sinning creates the friction, the conflict, and the heat that their boss, Sockless, so desperately craves. And here they are, the real engines of this reality. Let's run through them. First up, sovereign pride. Its mandate ensures every single soul tries to become a spectacle, which just fuels the grand drama. Then you've got sacred avarice, which commands that more is the only true prayer, saving the cosmos from the ultimate sin of contentment. After that comes divine wrath, whose law is simple. Peace is the death of the spirit. It uses conflict to forge strength. Holy envy is the spark of evolution. It makes you hunger for what others have, forcing you to change. Transcendent lust is all about creation through friction, making sure the painful, beautiful cycle of life and death never, ever stops. Then there's celestial gluttony, the great consumer, constantly reminding everyone that nothing is permanent. And finally, you have abyssal sloth, the quiet one, who oversees decay, turning souls back into soil to provide the raw, rotten material for new, more interesting monsters to grow.
So, where does all this lead? It leads to one final damning choice. On one side, you can follow the path of the saint, but that just means becoming a ghost, static, forgotten, fading away in the fool's boring heaven. On the other side is the path of the sinner. And yeah, it's agonizing, but it's also beautiful. It's real. It's vital. In this reality, it is the only way to actually be alive.
And that brings us to the one chilling proclamation that sums up this entire inverted reality. In the playground of Saklas, to be a saint is to be a ghost, but to be a sinner is to finally be alive. So the choice isn't really between good and evil. It's between a meaningless static non-existence and a painful, vibrant, and maybe even terrible life. So the question is, which one would you choose?